Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. If you want to join the football family, you can hit the subscribe button. And if you want to get all the breaking news, you can download the app as well, and it's at your fingertips with all that unique video content. It's Friday. What a big weekend to look forward to football and, of course, look back on some of the European results and the European draws. In the company of Tam McManus, Alison McConnell, I'm delighted to say former Rangers and Hearts winger David Templeton joins us, and it just makes me really feel old because I remember his dad playing as well. So that's bad, Tam, isn't it?
It is, and I didn't see his dad playing. I'm probably a bit younger as well, but he's certainly a legend in United when I was there.
I was just about to say, it's times like this you miss Ruffy. I just wish Ruffy was here so that he could remember your dad too. Anyway, apart from anything else, the good thing is you're still playing.
Yeah, still managing to hang on there. Maybe last year, maybe try and get one more, and I think that'll probably be me.
Just one more year?
Yeah, just the injuries have took its toll and starting to feel sore in the body now, recovering longer. It's taking like 4 days to recover now instead of 2, so yeah, I'm starting to feel it.
We're not really asking.
Is it hangovers or training he's talking about?
We're not really asking you to. We're not asking you out of concern for you. We're thinking testimonial dinner. That's what we're thinking. He's going to need a tribute, isn't he? Anyway, listen, we're delighted that you're with us. Maybe not in the best of circumstances, I have to say, because we've got lots to talk about. Give us your thoughts on it as well in our comments section below, and across all our social media channels. We've put out the managers and the players and the reaction to not only the Champions League draw, but the results last night for Kilmarnock and Hearts, and then the subsequent draw, which involves Hearts and Rangers in Europa League and Conference. And then let's not forget the small matter of Celtic Rangers on the Sunday is the biggest of all the games on offer, but we'll cover everything for you. So that's what's on offer. We'll get the thoughts of David and Alison and Tam as well. So first port of call, Hearts 0, Viktoria Plzeň 1 wasn't the result that we're looking for, and I think we feel they were there for the taking. What was your take on it?
Yeah, I think that's what's frustrating. You go away from home, you keep yourself in the tie, and that's what you're wanting, going away in those games, because it can be difficult. To come back to Tynecastle, you're thinking only 1 goal down, it's a good chance to get yourself through. And yeah, I don't think Stephen Naismith really knows his best team yet. He's been chopping and changing quite a lot, and I think you can see that in the performances so far. Yeah,
and that is the frustration, I think, that's seeping through to the fans, Tam, because quite simply, you know, when you start the season, I thought with some of the recruits that they were getting that they might be, you know, looking good, but suddenly it's not looking good. They're out yet again. I thought they should have beaten Zurich, you know, in the qualifier the last time for the Europa League, and yet again that big package of money slips through their fingers.
Yeah, you're talking 10 or 12 million pound, which for Hearts is enormous money. You see some of the teams that are in the Europa League, you know, it's almost like a mini Champions League. So, you know, I agree. I didn't think they were good at all last night. I didn't think that they put enough pressure onto Plzeň. I don't think they started the game well. Usually at Tynecastle, if David's played there, it's a wee tight pitch. The fans are right on top of you. Get crosses into the box, get corners, put the teams under pressure. They didn't. They seemed to be content to just keep it at 0-0, maybe try and nick a goal to take it to extra time, whereas they didn't really go and really pressure them. Once Plzeň scored, Hearts started to have a goal, which was weird as well. So, and the atmosphere, I don't think was great. I wasn't at the game, but I could hear it on the TV. There was a lot of kind of booing and, you know, a lot of mumbles for the support. So I think Stephen's under a wee bit of pressure now, Peter. I know it's incredible to say that. From last season he was excellent, but they've started the season really, really poorly, and they've got a tough game on Sunday at Dundee United as well.
Yeah, this was his take on going out to Viktoria Plzeň.
We huffed and puffed without really causing them loads of problems. Maybe if they won a couple of chances in the second half, but it was all nearly getting the ball, nearly making the goal and make a save, or our delivery or our ball in the box the quality was lacking. So that was it. And then Plzeň, obviously, it's another cheap goal from us that we lose, which takes the tie beyond us. But again, I think that you can see why Plzeň are consistently in Europe, because I thought they managed the game well, they defended their box really well, and then they make the right passes at the right times to create their goal.
Yeah, Alison, the worrying aspect of it is the ability to actually threaten their goal, because it didn't come until late in the second half.
Yeah, I just don't think they'd done anywhere near enough. I felt as though it was a flat performance. I never got the feeling that they lifted the tempo. I think you never get a sense of them really pushing and knocking at the door. I think Plzeň were there for the taking. I think that'll be the frustrating thing for so many of the Hearts support, that I think on their day you'd be expecting Hearts to beat them. They had enough, I think, to go, and at least if you go out on having had a go, on going and really pushing it and asking the questions. I think there was just so little impetus in the final third.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm bitterly disappointed about it, because I did mention right at the start, Tam, that we would be at the end of August looking at possibly just 3 teams, in European competition. You've got Rangers Europa League, which we'll talk about their draw shortly. You've got Celtic automatically Champions League, and now you've got Hearts dropping into the conference when that 5 or 6 extra million could have made such a difference.
Yeah, and I think the tie was there for them, Peter. You're right. Last year against Zurich as well, I thought the tie was there for them. They let that slip last night. I think they missed Long Shankland. I think they missed a focal point up front. I don't think Boyce has been quite at it this season. I thought they missed Shankland, and it was just a really, really poor, disappointing performance. And as you said, if you go out, you maybe get out 2-1 or 3-2, you have a real go. But to go out 1-0 at home is just poor for the Hearts supporters watching it.
Yeah, David, I know you might be in the final year of playing football, and you epitomise lots of people who think play as long as you can, love the game, but you also are what I call that kind of a rare dying breed of players who've got that technical ability, who automatically, from any manager who's ever worked with you, say, take the man on. And I just don't see that with a lot of teams now. Looking for a creative player, we didn't see it for Scotland, the European Championships. There's a dearth of people with that ability to square somebody up and go, I'm going to have a go.
Yeah, I think a big problem now is coaching as well. They're coaching it out of you. I think even at young age groups, it's all pass, pass, pass. You don't really get in the final third, right, go and take your man on, go and beat him. Like Jim Jeffries was massive for me in terms of, before games he would say, every time I got into the final third to take them on, I could lose it 9 times out of 10, but that one time I could create a goal or score a goal. And it just gave you the belief into every game I felt like I was the best player on the pitch, just because of Jim Jeffries. And I think now coaches are just constantly 1 and 2 touch, pass it, move, inverted wingers, inverted fullbacks. It's all 1 and 2 touch and move the ball. There's no wingers really taking people on. It's all inside.
Yeah, well, I mean that's a great. On this programme, time and time again, I'm almost certain. We've talked about coaches, we've talked about psychology of managers. If a manager's saying that to you, you must feel like $1 million. I don't see managers saying that to players now. Yeah,
100%, but he's right. You've got right-footed players playing the left now and left-footed players playing the right, and they cut inside. They don't go down the outside, Peter, because they want to come into their stronger foot. And I think it started with guys like Arjen Robben, cutting inside, but it seems to be the style now of teams that play with 3 up front. Celtic play like that as well. They play with the guys coming inside, Kuhn and people like that. So there's not really a guy who wants to go down the outside and put a cross in now. It's very rare to see that at the top level in football.
So there's one big problem. Killie had a similar problem. They had to try and score goals, Alison. In the end, yet again, okay, there was an own goal in there, and the disappointment of the previous tie with that penalty kick, which some thought it was a penalty, some thought not. But it was a tall order for them to try and take Copenhagen, but I thought they might just have been in with a chance when they went a goal up.
Yeah, me too. When I heard that Marley Watkins had scored the early goal, I thought it's game on. And I think Copenhagen had threatened, I think they'd had a couple of chances, and I think as the game went on, you could sense that the goal was coming. I think when you look at Kilmarnock and when the draw was made and they were paired with Copenhagen, and it's a very seasoned European team, I think you knew it was going to be a hugely tough ask for them to get over them. I don't think many people have anticipated that they had the capability of beating Copenhagen over 2 legs and going through. I think the manner in which they went out, certainly the manner of the first leg, will have aggrieved Derek McInnes. However, you'd have to say they deserve a fair bit of credit for how they performed and played. I don't think Copenhagen have had a good start to the season. Well, they've not had a good start to the European campaign. Obviously, their season's underway, but they've been having quite a tough time in Denmark. But I think overall they were probably the better team. I think, but Hearts is a different situation. What I think is, like, Hearts should have beating Plzeň. I think they had enough to get past them. Kilmarnock, when you weigh up resources between them and Copenhagen, you can see why Copenhagen would prevail.
Yeah, I don't think Derek McInnes disagrees with you. This is what he had to say after the game.
I think we've got to be honest and say the scheduling doesn't help, but we've not helped ourselves with the sending offs. It's hard enough dealing with what we need to deal with without playing a long kind of parts of games with 10 men, and that's on us. So we've got to get better at. And I do think, as I say, for reasons, some tired challenges at times. So I said I wouldn't complain about scheduling. I said I wouldn't complain about the fixture list, and we'll just go and try and set about Hibs on Sunday and try and get a positive result.
Okay, fairly philosophical on it all. I really wanted, maybe 4 clubs in European competition with a big kitty. It would have been a huge bonus to us, but it wasn't to be. The excitement, of course, of European draws this week. First of all, for Celtic, the Champions League draw, just before it was actually kicking off. I don't know if you get the chance to hook into it, David, but it was, well, let me sum it up for you, just in case you thought you've missed something special. It was like the Eurovision Song Contest without the music. It was just a cheese fest. I mean, did you see it, Tom?
I didn't see it.
I mean, I was tuning into it, and I could see Cristiano Ronaldo, and his sole job was to push a button, which then set off the computer. And then Gigi Buffon, he had to open up the unopenable balls from a couple of years back. So he opened it up. He then pulled out a name, and then Cristiano pushed this automatic button. Meanwhile, you had the 2 hosts who could clearly present the Eurovision Song Contest, because they were just a cheese fest asking questions that would do your box in. And then eventually we get to the draw. And I don't know about you, David, but I'm looking at it, I'm saying to myself, Leipzig, Club Brugge, Young Boys, Slovan Bratislava, that's at home for Celtic, and then they're away to Dortmund, Atalanta, GNK Dynamo and Aston Villa.
Yeah, I think Celtic have got to fancy their chances. From what I've seen, they think that 10 points could be enough to go through. And if you're Celtic, you've got to be looking at those 4 home ties, thinking you could take maximum points of them all. The away ties will, of course, be difficult, Villa away. But if they can pick up points in those home games, I think, I don't see why they can't go through.
Yeah, I've just sent Thomas Jordan, who's the PR person at Aston Villa. Thomas used to be on this show regularly in the first 2 or 3 years, and boy, do I miss him, Ali. But I just sent him a text and I just said,
Get it in early.
No. I didn't send him anything. I just said, you must be at this moment having mates that you haven't heard from in ages, claiming to be your pal for tickets. I mean, you'll be bombarded by it.
He will be, but I think Thomas was living the high life yesterday. I saw him on a private yacht in Monaco, and his private flight over for the draw. I think he was living the life yesterday, so I think he's probably changed his number.
Where did it go wrong for you, Ali, when you were sitting next to him? What happened?
Yes, indeed.
He's the Aston Villa PR guy, and he's got a great draw as well. But I think, as David mentioned there, Tam, Dortmund away, the Westfalen. I mean, McDonald will be there with his son. He'll be taking his son. He'll be over there wearing He'll be over there.
Half and half.
Well, he might have a half scarf, but he'll be over there anyway. That is one of the best stadiums. I'm going to get your thoughts on stadiums that you played in, David, but that's got to be, for me, Westfalen, the Johan Cruyff Arena, are 2 of the best stadiums I've been in for atmosphere.
Yeah, I think Dortmund, I remember going there with Scotland under 21s when the full team were playing Germany, and we went to the game. We played the day before, went to the game after it in the Westfalen. And what an atmosphere it was. Germany, I think, won 3-1, but great stadium, great opposition, got to the final last season, strong opposition. Atlanta won the Europa League, Villa away, so they've got tough away games. But as David said there, you're looking at those 4 home games and you're thinking, could maybe take 9 or 10 points out of that, and you could put yourself right in the driving seat. So
Leipzig will be a hard game.
Leipzig will be a tough game. I think Celtic have come up against them before and struggled, but I think your other 3 games in front of a packed Celtic Park, you'd fancy your Celtic and win them.
Yeah, James, who sent us a message, says that's the easiest Champions League draw ever. So there you are, leathered right away.
I think it could have been harder. I think when you look at your Real Madrids and Man Cities and Bayern Munich, PSG, teams like that, you just know you're not getting any points. But I think with those games, particularly the 4 home games, and maybe Dynamo away, you're thinking to yourself you could be competitive in those games.
Yeah, Hugh Scott says, Peter, I thought Celtic, well, they should be pretty happy with their draw. Rangers, on the other hand, it's the return of Ange. We're going to hear from Ange just shortly on that. He's been talking about it today, and we're going to talk about Celtic against Rangers on the Sunday as well. Where's the best stadium you've played in?
For atmosphere was probably Anfield, but the best stadium was the Etihad. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, Tam usually boasts about some of the goals he scored in half-decent stadiums, but you scored, didn't you?
Did?
It was really an own goal, but somehow I got it.
David,
He's actually had it and dropped it in. So
yeah. Did you kick it towards him?
Yeah, but I managed to get the goal. So.
Yeah,
that was limbs. I remember watching that. The Hearts fans behind the goal went tonto.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I remember that.
I mean, that's
good.
People falling down rows upon rows.
That's the. And did were you jumping into the crowd at that point?
No, so I didn't actually go in. I just ran in front, jumping up and down. But then I could see people literally falling on top of each other, celebrating. It looked incredible.
Did you get a jersey?
I got Carragher's. Yeah.
Got to be happy with that, Tom.
Not bad.
They actually gave me at half time.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, that's unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, because straight away everyone was wanting Gerrard's, but Marius Alukas, because he was captain, straight away when they were shaking hands, he managed to get his. So.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, Carragher was a good one.
Yeah, still got it?
I don't know where it is, to be honest. Maybe my mum's.
You know why we're asking you that, by the way? Because we'd Mark Riley on the show, and he just said, he's won the Scottish Cup. He says, no, I gave it away, the medal and the shirt in a frame. Gave it away to somebody, and I just looked at him, Ali, and I thought, what a rocket you are, man.
Peter's mad into his memorabilia.
I
just see in there.
I never really got much tops, to be honest.
No?
I think I got a few and gave them away as well. I got Danilo at Man City, gave that away. Try to think. Kyle Walker's as well at Tottenham.
Good one.
Away, yeah. But I've not got any of my own tops. I think I've got one top, and it's a Rangers anniversary top. That was it. It's the only one I've got framed.
That's the only one?
Yeah.
We had a competition, I might as well tell you, by the way, we had a competition today because one of our workers, obviously, we say to people, be a fan, but as soon as you come and work for PLZ in a professional capacity, you got to work, but you can still go away home and be a fan. So we had a competition today, and I said, I bet you'll never guess David Templeton's middle name. And we were going through everything you could possibly. It's just the best middle name of all time.
My dad's favourite player.
Yeah, so see if you can guess. What's his middle name?
I actually know this.
Don't.
I do know this. I know this because I interviewed him when you were at Rangers.
Dalglish?
No, the other side.
Other side? Cooper?
Yeah. Well done. Well done. No surprise it was your dad's favourite player because...
Winger, yeah.
Brilliant, yeah. So David Cooper Templeton, that's a belter, isn't it?
Yeah. He's got a tattoo of him and everything.
Is that right?
Yeah,
your dad has?
Yeah, I love them.
That's magnificent, isn't it? I didn't know that, eh?
That's brilliant.
By the way, just out of curiosity, does your dad still play fives?
No.
Nothing?
No, I think when he stopped playing, that was him. He didn't do it again.
Is that right?
Football-wise, yeah.
Right, okay. It's not strictly true. I played against him in an Ayrshire testimonial, and he came on and he was still absolutely magnificent.
Really?
Aye. He had a walking stick at that time, but I think he still ended up man of the match, by the way. But yeah, David Cooper Templeton, absolutely a belter of a middle name. Doesn't get any better than that, by the way. Coop is a middle name. But that's Celtic's draw and the Europa League draw. What did you make of it, David? Because it's Tottenham, Man United, Lyon, Olympiacos, Union SG, Malmo, FCSB and Nice.
Yeah, I think it's a very hard draw. 'Cause I haven't seen Tottenham this season so far. They look very, very good. I thought even against Leicester, they won each game.
Yeah, they battered them, didn't they?
6-0 up the first half.
Yeah.
It looked excellent. Second game looked same again, brilliant. So I think even coming to Ibrox, that'll be a difficult game for Rangers because they are playing so well. Going to Man U, that'll be extremely difficult, even though Man U are going through a bit of a phase just now. I think it'll be a difficult game for them down there. And then even looking at Olympiacos, I'm sure is away, which will be, that looks like a horrible venue to go to in terms of the way the fans are. So I think they've got a really hard tie. group. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember, actually, I don't know if you were there, Ali, I can remember Rangers playing away against Fenerbahce in, I think it was a Champions League group match, and the press get pelted with stones before they come in. That was before, and God knows what the players got. I thought to myself, if we're getting pelted, what's the Rangers team bus like? You know, they were going bananas. Olympiacos, same thing, crazy. Out of it all, though, this is what Ange Postecoglou had to say about a return to play Rangers.
No, exciting. Good to be a part of it, and yeah, some good games, and yeah, I'm sure I'll get a warm reception at Ibrox. So I'll be looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always the way, though, isn't it? There's always a little twist that brings you back somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think he's got a good record at Ibrox. I think he lost his first game there, am I right? 1-0. But yeah, I think he will be assured a warm welcome, but I think you would expect Spurs to win it. I think you would expect them to be too much for Rangers. I think it's a formidable group. I think it's a really tough group when you look at it on paper and look at the magnitude of the challenges that are coming, and it's all very well looking at Man United just now and saying in the context of the English Premier League, the one they've achieved for the last few seasons, and they look a bit disjointed, but ultimately Rangers going to Old Trafford and trying to get something's a big ask.
Yeah, we've got a Man United fan in our team as well, and as ever, there seems to be always an air of arrogance about Man United fans. It just went 6-0.
Yeah, I don't see that with Man United the way they're playing at the minute, but yeah, I agree. Listen, it's a really tough. It's a tough draw for Rangers. I think the two French teams will be tough as well. Nice and Lyon, Malmo away. So and Man United, Spurs. But it's a game you want to play in as a player. You know, you want to play, test yourself against the best, and the best league in the world for me is English Premiership. So great for teams to go and for players to go and play against teams for that league.
Yeah, last bit on the European front, with the drop down for Hearts, it's now Copenhagen, and also, and I'm just trying to see, Cercle Bruges is another of the teams. Dynamo Minsk, Petro Club, and I think I've got Omonia Nicosia in there as well as Heidenheim as well.
There is quite a drop-off, Peter, when you see the quality of teams from the Europa League to the Conference League, and I think Hearts will be more competitive in the I know financially they wanted the money, but I think when you look at the group that Rangers got, I mean, if Hearts were in that as well, I think they'd be really struggling. So I think just some of the teams, no disrespect to the teams you've mentioned there, there's a bit of a drop-off from the Europa League quality to the Conference.
Yeah,
Hearts can be more competitive.
Well, they might be more competitive, but it's funny actually. You know, when you speak to various people who work in different levels of clubs, I mean, from your own point of view, you know, with your job, you have to look and maybe scout players and you know, and recommend them to managers or someone as your line manager, David. Various other people who work at the clubs always, for example, for a finance person who's in finance at Hibs or Hearts or Rangers or Celtic, they look at the game totally differently, and they'll look at that and say it could have been another 5 million that would have made the whole wage totally different, doesn't it? It changes the outlook in your whole year and your season ahead.
Yeah, definitely, and it's even just having those teams up at your stadium as well. In the Europa League, the likes of Tottenham, having them there, to now the teams that they have in a group like Copenhagen, there is a big difference. Just the whole feel about the place as well. If you had that sort of tie, so it's, yeah, as Tam said, it's a massive difference in terms of the quality of teams that they're going to be up against, but it does give you a better chance of going far in the tournament as well. It's
not just Scotland that has this at times. Not so much an inferiority complex, but a realisation that there's a huge gap. There's a lot of clubs and a lot of countries in Europe look at English football and think it's a massive gap now financially, and they're cherry picking the best players. What's it like when you're walking out and you know you're with a Hearts side that doesn't have the vast array of talent that maybe a Liverpool had? Is there an inferiority complex? What goes through your mind?
Well, I think I remember when we played Tottenham, the first game, we were all buzzing. Couldn't wait to play against them because they had Gareth Bale, Aaron Lennon at the time, Modric. He didn't play that game, but he was there. But I remember after 15 minutes, we were 3-0 down. They were unbelievable, and that's when we had the realisation that like we were nowhere near the level that those teams were. Whereas the next season against Liverpool, we drew 1 each at Tynecastle, and even down at Anfield, even though we knew they had levels to go, they weren't at it. And then when we scored, it was like bang, they just clicked in another level or two and scored straight away.
Yeah.
So even then, in the space of those 5 minutes, you could see again they had levels to go. We just couldn't get to.
Is it demoralising?
I wouldn't say it's demoralising, because it was still good to play against those teams. And when you watch it back, you see, especially Spurs, how good they were. Van der Vaart, he was unbelievable. People saying to you after it, oh, why do you not just go and kick them? It's like, because you generally couldn't get close enough to kick them. Because they were moving it 1 and 2 touch, just potting it all over the place. And yeah, when you watch it back, you realise, do you know what, you're just playing against players that were at a different level to you, and sometimes there's nothing you can do when that happens.
Yeah, and is that, and that's the great thing about, you know, having the likes of yourself in here and Tam on more than a few occasions has talked to us about playing against these players from that level. Technically, they're so good that they don't have to worry about the control aspect of it. They can automatically play a ball quicker. What other differences did you find when you're coming up against players like that? Because you've just said to us, Jim Jeffries would say, go, there's the man, take him on. I mean, I don't know anybody in Europe who actually thinks, oh, there's Kyle Walker, I think I might run him.
Yeah, well, that's when I noticed physically and athletically how good he was.
Monsters, isn't there?
Yeah, I remember there was one, it was actually Michael Dawson was coming out with it. Walker had went high, and I knew he was going to try and pass him. I managed to cut it out, and then I was running at Dawson. I've cut inside him, about to shoot, and Walker's took it out. I was thinking, how did he get back in that quick? But it generally was just because he was so fast, so strong. Yeah, that was a tough night, that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, the other key to it as well is, right now, Ali, everybody's now thinking, OK, they've seen the draw, those 3 teams have seen it. We're now looking and saying, there's still some time left in this transfer window. It's down to the wire. Teams are starting to make signings at the last minute that could alter things. Celtic, Arne Engels, 11 million. And then Austin Trusty, 6 million. There's a real shout now that Luke McCann could be coming in at McCowan, sorry.
Channeling your inner Ruffy.
Yes, absolutely. I should have actually. I know Ruffy just thought the first name and then just it sounded like it. Luke McCowan, just over 1 million. And then, you know, they've shipped more than a few out. But I think, you know, I'm not going to get sucked into it, but the hype around those players, especially Arne Engels at 11 million.
It'd be a Scottish transfer record for Celtic, a Celtic transfer record. Yeah, I think Brendan Rodgers was very clear going through the whole window. You know, I think you heard him on Sunday after the game making it clear that he wanted some business to be done before close of play. Today, I think he wants the squad to be stronger coming out of this window as they were before going into it. I think they've offloaded maybe a dozen players. Is that maybe 12 players off the wage bill? I think it was quite a bloated squad. I think the proof will be in the pudding. You'll be able to judge these players when they come in across the next few months. I think a bigger question, which we have spoken about repeatedly, is maybe just the structure of how transfers are done, the system of transfers. I'm not sure you should be running it down until the very last minute of the window. However, I think it has been a fairly turgid window across the board when you look. It's been slow this summer for all clubs in getting players in. But in terms of the business that they've done, I think people will be pleased that they've pushed the boat out a bit. They've brought in players, a left-sided centre-back, which is what they've been crying out for the last few seasons, and you'll see over the next few months what kind of impression now they go on to make. Yeah.
Listen, I don't think you can criticise them, Tam, for splashing out the 11 million. I don't think too many Celtic fans were demanding 11 and 9 million. They've done it. They deserve credit for that. The question I would be asking, if we were allowed into a Celtic press conference, by the way, most people have a message on how long before I mention it. The question I would ask Brendan Rodgers is quite simple. Are you happy with the standard of player that's been brought in? Does it meet your demands?
Well, only he can answer that, Peter. I think that with Engels and Trusty, I think you're getting guys in that are going to get straight into the team. I think Trusty goes in beside Carter Vickers, and I think that Engels, you can play anywhere across the middle of the park. You can play on the right-hand side in terms of a winger. So I think you're getting guys in that's going to make an impression in the Champions League, Peter. You know, if you go and sign a guy for $1 million and a half, squad players that Celtic have been doing, it just bloats your squad. I think when you go and pay 11 million for somebody or 9.5 for either, or 6 million for a centre half, you're tooling up to have a go in Europe, and I think that's what Celtic are doing. They're bringing players in to improve the team, and I think when you look at Schmeichel as well, I think that Celtic will come out of this window, I think, stronger.
Yeah, there is a suggestion. I think Brendan Rodgers, this is what he's had to say, obviously ahead of the game, but he's talking about the players that they're hoping to bring in. We hope to close out the window in a really positive way. We always said we wanted to finish today stronger than when we entered into it, and I'm positive that we can do that. I never want to speak when the process is still in place, but we have a number of transactions going on behind the scenes, which would suggest, David, that they might even bring the odd couple in. Even Mikey Johnston's away to West Brom, so they're shifting players out, but looking to regenerate that squad.
Yeah, well, they've obviously brought in a lot of money as well, which helps. If O'Reilly going, they have to replace him because he was vital for them in the way they played and the goals and assists that he got. So it looks like Engels will be coming in to kind of replace him. Plus Bernardo came in, who can also play there. Mikey Johnstone going for rumoured $2.5 million, which is good business again from them. So they're in a very good position to go out and spend money and bring players in to make the squad stronger. Because as they've looked so far, they've looked very, very good. And you also mentioned the boy McCowan. If they go for him, I think he's a very good player, and I think that Rodgers is a type of manager that put him to another level as well. So it could be good for them as well.
Yeah, the interesting thing about it is even with, and this is the balancing act that we've all been discussing, Tom, Allison, is what you want to do domestically, what you want to do in Europe, and you caught up with Paul Lambert earlier today just to talk about the difference for Celtic, the demands on not going into the European games and losing right, left and centre.
Your club the size of Celtic, you can't keep playing European competitions, Alison, and ending up with 1 and 0 points. That doesn't add up. The club's too big for that. It does great domestically, as you said, but it needs to make a little dent in Europe, and hopefully this new format does that, because it gives clubs who are not in the elite bracket, it gives them a little chance to maybe have a little crack at the knockout rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. He knows better than most, because at least at that time, Tom, they were getting to the latter stages of European competition.
Yeah, well, I think that obviously we spoke about it the other day, Peter. The early 2000s was probably the pinnacle in Scottish football in terms of teams doing well in Europe. You know, the Martin O'Neill team and the Dick Advocate Rangers team, but both, it was serious money going about. You know, Hearts and Sutton, Larson, you know, Rangers were signing to Andre Flo for £12 million. So those days are gone. But Paul's right. They did make an impression in Europe. They took some big scalps. Remember beating Juventus, I think, 4-3 at home, and beating Barcelona over 2 legs. So I don't think Celtic are at that level yet, but the more signings they make of the £6 million, £10 million, then they can start to get close to that again.
You were strutting your stuff around about that time as well. Who was the most difficult player that you come up against domestically?
I was always really impressed with Steve Davis. Just always seemed to have time in the ball, pick a pass, control a game. He wasn't the biggest, strongest, but just no one would get near him. As I said, he was always that clever that he found himself with time in the ball.
Yeah, even the first time and the second time, David, when he came back.
Yeah, I thought he was really, really good. Easy geary for a spell when he was up here. I thought was excellent. Playing against him was always difficult. He was so fast. Any time he got away from you were never catching him. And yeah, had good delivery into the box. So I was always impressed with him as well. And I'm sure the year, it might have been 2010 or 11, he got Player of the Year as well. So. Yeah.
Always interesting to get an insight into players that from David's time, Tom's time, to see exactly who was the difficult ones that they come up against. Nowadays, we're looking at the Scottish Premiership. Here's the games that we're going to be analysing before we go off air. This is what's on offer this weekend. Dundee against St Mirren, St Johnstone, Motherwell, Ross County against Aberdeen, Celtic Rangers, Hearts against Dundee United, and Kilmarnock against Hibs. 3 of those games on the Saturday, 3 on the Sunday. Just before we get to talk about them, there's just one little statement that's come out from Hibs. It's regarding the abuse that has been directed towards Ellie Ewan on Instagram. Everyone at Hibs is disgusted with the racist abuse Ellie Ewan has received on social media. The club has launched an investigation into the message on Instagram and will take the strongest possible action against the individual in question. I don't know what motivates someone to go on, Alison, and think it's okay to abuse someone for anything. I mean, I'm an ambassador for Show Racism, the Red Card. I just don't get it. I just think it's just gross stupidity.
No, it's morally repugnant. I think you have to condemn it in the loudest possible way. I just think we have to call it out. You have to publicise it. You have to show that it's there, and you have to acknowledge that it's there, and you have to take steps to try and remove it. It's vile.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope they get him and ban him for life, or her for life, just so that I can get the balance on it, because I'm not sure at this moment, if it's been released, who the culprit is. Celtic against Rangers, it dominates everybody's thoughts on this one. Of course, Philippe Clement, the Rangers boss, has got a big pressure because he's got to try and get himself what would be his first win against Celtic. Can they do it in Celtic's backyard? One thing that he has said this week is he's not going out there to park the bus.
I hope also to get a few signings in this week. So maybe they have 1 training or 2 trainings or no training before that game. So maybe I can even not use them in that way. And I'm focused also on the rest of the season, not only this one game who comes, but we're gonna prepare us in the ultimate best way to be competitive in that game and to go full for the 3 points, not to play, to sit and to park the bus in front of goal and to hope that something falls out of the sky. No, we're gonna go full our chances.
I can't wait to see what the plan of attack. I have watched previous Rangers managers in the last few years, David, decide to park the bus, which I thought was a recipe for disaster. It'll be interesting to see what plan he adopts.
Yeah, I think it's going to be vital that they keep Celtic out for the first 20-25 minutes, try and turn the crowd a little bit, quieten them down, because if you can see the early against Celtic at Parkhead, you're going to be in for a long day. I think Rangers had a good result last week, which the fans needed, especially with the whole Hampden situation and previously not playing well. So I thought that was a big boost for the fans. But Sunday's going to be very difficult and a total different game from last week. Yeah,
what do you expect them to do?
I genuinely don't know. Having watched Celtic, they've been bang at it. They're looking very good. And as I say, I think Rangers need to. I think that sometimes you have the plan of going and attacking, but sometimes they can peg you back with the way they play, and I think that might happen at the start of the game. And as I said, you've got to stay in the game, and then try and get yourself into the game, build a bit of momentum, and hope that you can obviously hurt them going forward, because they do have the players to hurt Celtic going forward, and I think that's Celtic's defence have been probably, especially the left-hand side of them, I think you can get a bit of joy. And I think Rangers will need to try and exploit that when they can, but they've got to be solid defensively.
Yeah, that's the key point, that I think a lot of people, and certainly a lot of fans sometimes look at the way a game unfolds and they think, well, why didn't you have a go at them? Sometimes it's just not possible. I wonder about it now, though, because right up until we get to the Sunday, managers can duck and dive. We were talking about the need to get players out, players that maybe are not part of the manager's plans. Scott Wright to Birmingham is one, releases some cash. Todd Cantwell to Blackburn might release a fair bit of cash. So suddenly he might have the chance. He's got Narasho Casemiro coming in on loan from Feyenoord. He's a play centre back or right back, but that maybe gives him an option to solidify the defence and throw him straight into it. not sure he'll do that or not, but it certainly might give him a bit of leeway for one in and maybe another.
Yeah, I think that Rangers are obviously in the midst of rebuilding the squad, Peter. I think that they've got rid of a lot of big earners in the summer. You know, they got the Barisic, Lundstrom obviously both went to Turkey. Goldson was a big earner. You know, Cantwell was a big earner. Ryan Jack, guys like that. So they're starting to clear the decks a little bit in terms of trying to free up money, but they need to bring quality in. There's no point in just getting the wage bill down and then bringing in, you know, substandard players. They're having to work in the loan market a wee bit. Obviously, they're hamstrung with no getting into the Champions League and getting that money. And I think they do need to strengthen both full-back areas. I think Tavernier needs some pressure on his position. And right back, I know Sterling can play at right back. And the left back, obviously, he got injured. The left back, Turkish left back. Yilmaz got injured. So they need cover in that department as well. So it's easy saying you're going to go and have a go, Peter, but David's been there, I've been there. You go to Celtic and Rangers, sometimes you're thinking, right, you've set up to go and have a go, and you just get pinned back. You just can't get out your half because the other team's too good. And Rangers, if that happens, and I think it will happen, Celtic will come flying at the traps at Parkhead, they always do. Rangers, as David said, they need to stay in the game for 15-20 minutes and not concede.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem. I mean, again, you know what it's like. It's one of those situations, Alison, where the confidence, I am, you know, we only have to look at our feed here to see the confidence from Celtic fans that there is only one result that's coming out on Sunday. I speak to Rangers fans, friends of mine who are looking and saying, you know, slightly worried, looking and thinking, how are they going to be able to pull this off? As David says, can you keep them quiet? Can you take those one or two opportunities that suddenly silences the place?
Yeah, I think what you're looking at is the evidence across the opening weeks of the season, and we've spoken about this often, that there's a belief that the form book goes out the window before these games. I don't tend to agree with that. I actually think it's a form team who wins it. I think it's 9 times out of 10 it's a form team who goes, and it's very predictable based on the evidence of what you've seen. And what you've seen across these opening weeks is a very confident Celtic side who have picked up the way they left the tail end of the last campaign off. They look aggressive, they look purposeful, but there's a cohesion about them that maybe wasn't always in evidence at the start of last season or at pockets of last season. Rangers, I think you could point to still being disjointed at points. I know last weekend they get the 6-0 win over Ross County, but it's been turgid at times in games that have maybe not been as fluent as what you would have liked. So I think when you have this groundswell of people saying this should be straightforward for Celtic, or you expect Celtic to prevail and come out on top, it's based on what you're seeing in front of you, based on how you're assessing how both squads say. I think Dessers will feel confident. I think that would be the one threat that Rangers have got. But I think when you look at both squads, I think Celtic have just got far too much against Rangers, and certainly they look as though they've got a depth, they've got a quality that I think Rangers just don't have. Yeah,
I think lots of people here offering their prediction on it, but John says only a fool predicts the result of a Celtic-Rangers match. Celtic to win, he says, which kind of sums this whole madness up, David, because, quite simply, one of the things that I harp on about, and I know some people obviously like to, J Mac says this is boring chat. It'll get even more boring because there's no fans, no away fans. I like away fans in the ground. It just makes that whole game.
Yeah, I think they've got to bring that back. It used to always be known as the best derby because of the atmosphere, and now it's not really got that. I can remember at Celtic Park, Tavernier scoring the free kick, and he runs to celebrate. He doesn't know where to run to. There's no fans to run to, and it's just, I think it's totally killed the atmosphere of the games, and hopefully both clubs will come to an agreement and bring it back.
Yeah, the only player I know, David, who probably would have relished no fans there of their own is your mate. Scott Brown would have probably run up to any end of Rangers fans just for the noise up.
Yeah, it would have, but it's David's spot on. It's just, it takes away from the game, Peter. For me, the best derby now in the league's Hibs Hearts, simply because they've got a full allocation, and there's a full allocation there. The atmosphere, until Celtic and Rangers get their head round the table and bring that back, then it's not going to be the same fixture for me.
Yeah. Don't forget, Tam's on his own Twitter, not anything to do with PLZ Soccer, if you want to absolutely cane him right now, because as soon as you say that, they all go tonto. But whether that's the case or not, I like to see the fans there. I think I remember Barry on the show saying that he scored for Rangers and he thought about running towards the Celtic fans, and then he thought, maybe it's not a good idea after all, then ran the other way. The other big problem, Alison, is I don't think the net's going to work when they eventually get in as away supporters.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. However, you've got to try and do something. I think everyone would be, I think fans of both sides are quite happy in some ways in just protecting their allocation. But I think when you speak to any former players or anyone who doesn't have that emotional connection as a supporter to it, they all want the full allocations back. And I just think it dilutes the theatre of it. I think it just removes something from the atmosphere and from the fixture. I think anything that's going to get you towards that coming back is a good thing. I would tend to agree with you with the nets. However, if that's a step that you're going to have to take to make the first step and bring away fans in, then I think you've got to welcome it. Yeah.
You being a winger, do you ever hear, are you conscious of fans, or do you just, it's blocked out?
Oh, you hear it, yeah. I actually used to love going to Easter Road. I used to get a lot of abuse then. One of the goal I scored there, actually, I was getting stick off this one fan constantly. So when I scored, I've turned and shushed him straight away. But it's stuff like that you like as a player. I actually liked getting abuse at other stadiums. I always took it as a compliment, because I always felt it gave good players abuse, because I didn't like them. But yeah, it's something that you definitely hear it, and you also hear your own fans if it's not going well either. So that's it can be difficult.
I like it. That's why we invite him on, Tam. I like anybody who scores and then gives the fans what for is absolutely brilliant. If you're giving it out to the player, why can't the player?
I don't like these fans that run to the stewards and all that. You know, when
it's an outrage.
Or complain he shouldn't have been doing that. You know, if you're going to give it out, you've got to take it back.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you score a goal in a big game, it's absolutely top drawer when it happens. And we've had a few who've done it over the years and certainly enjoyed it. Give us your thoughts on some of the great goals in that game, Celtic Rangers. There's been some special moments down through the years. Everybody's talking about it. We've got, we've looked back through the archives and picked out some of our classic interviews with players. Ian Durrant looking back on a classic game that Celtic played against Rangers at Ibrox. It was 4-4. And again, I think McCoy scored a goal and then ran up and kissed his boot. For what reason, we know not. Not even Durrant knew. And Paul Lambert's been reflecting on it as well. Barry Ferguson, it's a feature you can see on our TikTok and, of course, across all our social media. So, predictions, Tam?
Yeah, listen, I think if Celtic turn up and play well, I think there's only one winner. If Celtic, you've seen in the cup final towards the end of last season, Peter, Celtic were poor. Rangers lifted their game that day and there was no much in the game. I think Rangers will be relying on Celtic having an off day and them playing well to win the game, but if Celtic turn up, I think there's only going to be one winner. I'll go for 3-1 to Celtic.
Okay, David?
Pains me to say it, but I think Celtic will win as well. Just on the way they look so far. I think some of the signings from last season have looked better this season as well. They've had time to settle in, like the boy Kuhn's looking very good. So yeah, I think they're going to win, and I'll go 2-0. 2-0,
Alison?
2-0.
2-0. Can't disagree with you. It would need something really special. Of course, it might be the situation where, who knows, sometimes a manager's able to duck and dive and bring in a player that nobody sees out of left field. Could it be somebody that could maybe help Dessers up front? Is it somebody in the middle of the park? Who knows? But these games are special, the atmosphere really good. I think probably on the basis of Philippe Clement, he would have much preferred maybe to have it as a home game, but if it was the first one, it would have been at Hampden, so maybe not. Anyway, that's what we've got to look forward to on the Sunday, and right after the game, we'll be here offering you our immediate reaction to that match. Celtic against Rangers. You can give us your point of view on our YouTube channel. We'd love to hear from you, and thank you so much to so many of you. The thousands of people who have been supporting us and all our content over the course of last season and going into this season. So elsewhere, some teams are going to have to pick themselves up and get going and get some positive results. Of course, the one other team out with Celtic and Rangers who are flying at the moment, and everybody's positive, is the Dons. They're away to Dingwall against Ross County, unbeaten, and right now, if you're an Aberdeen fan, you're as high as a kite.
Yeah, you are. I think they've started the season fantastically well, won every game. I think all the League Cup games and all the league games have won. I think they've been fortunate with the fixture list. I think that they've came up against two teams that have been in Europe during the week at home. I think Kilmarnock and St Mirren have had to take that long trek up to Aberdeen, so but you can't take anything away from them. They've started really well. They've got another very winnable game against Ross County, who obviously had a really poor result last week. So I think Aberdeen will win this, and they'll keep going. We've looked at the fixture list, Peter. I think in October they've got Celtic, Rangers and Hearts. That's probably the time to judge them, but from now to then they can get themselves in that top 2 or 3.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go 2-1 Aberdeen.
Yeah, 2-1 Aberdeen for me as well. I think they'll score 1, yeah.
David?
I'm going to go 3-1 Aberdeen.
Yeah.
2-1 Aberdeen.
Okay, wow. It's a changed days, actually. I don't think we've had everybody backing Aberdeen for a long time, because obviously the previous managers were your mates and it didn't go according to plan. Anyway, right. Listen, a couple of things quickly that will get your predictions on. Dundee against St Mirren is an interesting tie, because Dundee are playing really well. St Mirren, can they upset them at Dens Park? Our man Patrick Mullen was there.
It's transfer deadline day in Scotland, and the window closes tonight at 11 p.m. Here at St Mirren, Stephen Robson says he's delighted with his squad that he has for the remainder of the season, but would love to see another face through the doors.
Yeah, look, in every area, if there's something better or something that improves the squad, then yeah, of course, we are quite light in numbers. We're loaning 3 or 4 of the younger boys out for the right reasons, to develop them and bring them back next season in better shape. So it leaves us light on numbers. So I do believe it's important we try and get one in at least today. And if that right person pops up, then of course. But if not, I believe we've still got a very good squad when everyone's fully fit.
Looking ahead to this weekend, and St Mirren will take the trip up to Dens Park to take on an unbeaten Dundee side. Stephen Robinson was full of praise for the recruitment of the club and is hoping his players will be ready for the challenge ahead.
Tough challenge. I think Tony's done a great job. He's recruited really well. They've spent good money in getting players in, and as you say, they've started brightly in the cup, brightly in the league, and we go expecting the game as always is a tough game.
It's Dundee versus St Mirren live from Dens Park. Kick-off is at 3 p.m. on Saturday afternoon.
Two good managers, David.
Yeah, two very good managers. Tony Docherty's come in, done extremely well. I know his assistant, Stuart Taylor, from Hamilton, and he's a very good coach as well, so I'm not surprised that they are doing so well. He's brought in some very good players and playing good football, and yeah, they've started the season excellently.
Yeah, well, on that point, who are you going for?
I'm going to go a Dundee win, 2-1.
Yeah.
Dundee for me as well. I think they've been excellent, particularly at Dens Park. I think St Mirren just haven't quite got into their groove yet. You've not really seen the same kind of performances that you were seeing last term, maybe just been affected by that the European games at the start of the campaign, but I can't see past Dundee.
The show's doing my head in. We're all agreeing with each other. Is there any chance we'd have a fight?
No, I think Dundee as well. I think Simon Murray was a great signing for them as well. I think with him and me boy Tiffany's coming into a game as well, looks sharp. I think they've got too much quality in the final third. I think they'll win 3-1.
Yep, okay. 2-1 for me. I like Bob, who's giving me pelters. He just says, Peter talking about Tam's mates is ironical. His raison d'etre is based on his mates as well. Moisey, DJ, Maloney, Lenny, mates. There was a guy giving me pelters yesterday because, he actually wrote in and gave me absolute pelters because I said Derek Johnstone was a great player. For God's sake, he was the top goal scorer in Scotland in 1978 and still couldn't get in the Scotland side. Listen, sometimes...
DJ, one of your mates or no?
Eh?
One of your mates, big DJ?
I spent 8 years sitting I spent 8 years sitting right next to him at Radio Clyde, and I've never laughed so much in all my life. He was... and, of course, the other thing, which obviously will irk yourself, is... DJ had won a League Cup medal at 16. He could play centre half, centre midfield, and centre forward. I wish your dad was here. He'd tell you how good a player Derek Johnstone was.
To ask him then.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Bob says Derek Johnstone. There you are, DJ the cheerleader. Anyway, thank you for that. Sorry about that, guys. But listen, if you're a good player, you're a good player. St Johnstone against Motherwell. Well, I think Motherwell, have they surprised us?
I think it's been better. I think they'll win this one. I think they'll go to McDermott Park and come back with all 3 points. St Johnstone, of course, no Adama Sidibe after his antics last.
Yeah, no, you can't say for his punch in the nether regions. Yeah,
it's, coming together. With
have
Kevin
you ever
Holt.
punched somebody or had a fight? We've had Chick Charnley was on the show, and he said, you know, he was ogling for a move. So he thought, I'll punch one in one team ways. so the manager would give him a move. Have you ever
I suppose it would work.
It's a bit extreme.
I've never.
No.
I don't think I've ever been in a fight in football at all.
Absolutely. Anybody who sits in that seat has never been in a fight.
Ruffy's
Ruffy's like that as well.
I don't think it's as big in football now. I think years ago there was a lot more.
Yeah.
I remember Neil McCann. It was Paul Hartley actually fighting with Swilius Mikalunas. When I was a young boy watching the indoor Rickert and those two fighting, and I seen Lee Wallace punch Ruben Palazuelos as well. Fist his nose all over the place.
That's the kind of training sessions you want.
That's what you want.
No surprise.
That was because Ruben with the young boy Gordon Smith up training, and he was pressing the ball, and I think he caught Ruben one, like not too bad, and Ruben took the huff, and then next one done young Gordon. So Lee Wallace, punched him.
Yeah, great. As you do, by the way.
That's the young boy. So
I like that. I remember rolling about Austin McCann. Who've seen?
Who we saw in Germany?
Rolling about him in the derby game at Easter Road. Two rolling about punching each other and all that. Aye.
Happy days. Earlier on this afternoon, I think Alison wanted to punch me, but the ref wasn't
Just
there.
Mo's days.
Yeah, exactly. Hearts Dundee United, certainly for all the hullabaloo beforehand, Jim Goodwin. You know, it looks as if he's got some good players in there. I certainly loved watching them in the derby.
Yep, he's got a couple of good results so far this season. Hearts obviously started really difficult, not getting results. So I think this game's going to be massive for Hearts, and I think they will get the result that will cheer the fans up a little bit, try and get themselves back in the right track, and I'm going to go a 2-1 win for Hearts.
By the way, boy, do they need it. I mean, I like Stevie Naismith. I've got a lot of time for him. I'm a big fan. I think managers just can go through bad patches. But boy, I wouldn't like to be at Tynecastle if they don't get a win.
I think they desperately need it, but I think, I don't know, I just quite fancy that they'll drop points. I don't know if Dundee United will win it, but I think they'll take something. I think there's always a dip coming off a European midweek performances. I don't think that's exclusive to Hearts or teams in Scotland. I think if you look across Europe, there's always a dip in performances from those who are participating in midweek games and then going back to domestic fixtures at the weekend. I think this will be a really hard game for them. I'm going to go for a draw. I'll say 2 each.
Well, I think it might be a draw as well.
Yeah, I'll go for a draw. I wasn't impressed with Hearts at all last night. I thought they looked poor, but I'm not sure Dundee are good enough to go and win the game. I'll go for 1 each.
Yeah, what about your boys, Hibs, at Rugby Park?
I mean,
I wasn't impressed with them last week, Tam, I have to be honest with you.
It's the same old Hibs, Peter. It's that they look good going forward. They score goals. They've got great options in the wide areas, forward areas, midfield. Defensively, they're still poor, Peter. And the goal that Simon Murray scored last week, where he just rolls the centre half, a couple of minutes for the end, is just basic stuff. So I can see Hibs scoring down there, but I just don't think they're good enough to go and win the game. So I'll go for it. I think they'll be a draw. I think a draw suits both. Kilmarnock are sitting bottom with no points, and they're coming off a European game as well. I think a draw would kind of suit both. So I'll go for a 1 each in that game.
Okay, I'm going Killie 1-0.
1 each.
Yeah, I'm going to go the draw as well. I think on the back of a tough game during the week, it takes a lot out of the legs, and I think they might be a bit tired because they've not got a massive squad for changing. They kind of stay to relatively similar teams, so I think it'll be a draw again.
Right, okay. Thanks to so many of you for offering your opinion on the games, and of course the good thing is, David, you've got off lightly. Usually in that seat usually they give any guest pelters. But the one thing I was going to point out to you, which is just of a guest that we had earlier on the week, Mark Riley, his shirt that he gave away. So I got a message just basically from Tommy Adams.
Well, the guy you said.
Who is a friend of mine on Facebook. He says, I'm not sure you remember, obviously I had given them some stuff for a charity they were collecting for, and he says, I've got his framed shirt. I now work at St Mirren, and you can see there's the shirt with Mark Riley's Scottish Cup winning shirt with the medal in there, given away for charity. So well done, Tommy, for mentioning that. We've been talking about him in midweek. Just before we go, English Premier League, there's a lot of games that I think will whet the appetite, some that you wouldn't actually draw the curtains to watch, but I'll tell you right now, nobody will be speaking to me on Sunday because I'm hoping that Liverpool go to Man United and absolutely spank them.
Yep, great game. I think Newcastle Spurs, good game as well. Couple of good games on Sunday. Do you fancy Liverpool? Do you like the look of them early doors?
I think he is a great signing.
Yeah, for 12 million, I think that's a great signing. It's injury problems, but it's a bit of a snip. Get him for that money.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you fancy them?
No, I think Man U will beat you 2-1.
What? Yeah?
Yep.
You think so? You happy with the way they're looking?
Yeah, I think Man U will win 2-1.
Okay. Do you want to go a wee?
No.
What are you? Honestly, this is a guy who would bet on how many steps a fly would take across a table, but you don't want to.
I'm not that confident. I just want to say to wind you up.
All right, okay, that's fine. Ali,
Liverpool 3-0.
I am going for a draw.
Yeah, going to draw Old Trafford. David, you're the last word on this.
I think Liverpool will win 3-1. I think going forward, and Man U still look suspect at the back, so I think Liverpool will score 3.
Right, just before we finish, and it would be remiss of me not to get you on this, because obviously it's been great having you. And I think I can't remember where we met, and I said, you just got to come on the show. Well, we're at a gig somewhere, weren't we?
It was actually at it was a Drum Chapel race night you were at with Tam Cowan and John Gagan.
Right, what a lineup
yeah,
that was.
It was hilarious.
That's Champions League. I mean, there was no real inferior after dinner speakers there. What a night that was.
It was some night to be fair.
Just on that, but I'm not going to let you leave with toughest opponent you've ever played against.
Directly against?
Yeah.
Kyle Walker.
Right, you can't argue with that one. So, best player you played with?
Played with Lee Wallace or Rudy Scatchell.
That's a good couple, by the way.
Yeah, Rudy's finishing was unbelievable.
Yep.
Even in training on a Friday we'd do shooting, and I was his shooting partner. Never ever lost. It didn't matter if I was horrendous, he would always score.
Is that right?
Oh, his left foot was a wand.
Magic. Okay, and the last point here, which you can leave us with, if you to pick, and quite a few people.
It's not a list, is it?
No, it's not a list. It's an easy one. I know.
He loves a list.
I know. Give us your five-a-side team.
That played with?
No, just give us 5 that you'd have that you've played with, or you definitely have in the trenches with you've played with.
I'll go 5 played against then.
Right.
So I'll go Peperina in goals. Carragher centre back. Then I would put in De Bruyne, Gareth Bale, and Luis Suarez up top.
Not a bad
I mean,
team.
honestly,
Who you played against?
by the way, that'd do your brains in. What about that team?
That's some team. Steven Gerrard can't get in it.
Yeah, I know. And by the way, your best 5 that you played with, because this is the key to it all. You're going to have to upset somebody. Who's your keeper?
Marion Kello.
Right.
He was very good when I played with him.
Right.
Centre back, Andy Webster.
Right.
Midfield 2, I would go. It's actually harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah, because you're going to have to leave some of your mates out.
Yeah. Centre mids.
We should go put Lee McCulloch in.
A Big Jig, yeah. Big Jig was a striker when I played him, right?
Yeah, good point.
Lewis McLeod was very good.
We were talking about him today. Lewis McLeod, what a great player.
He was unfortunate with injuries, but he was excellent.
Yep.
3
more. Strikers.
2 more in it.
2 more.
Sorry.
Strikers.
I'll go strikers then.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll play Rudy off a 10.
Yep.
I I should have put in Lee Wallace. I haven't said he was one of the best I played with.
Yeah. Don't try and suck up to him now. You've got one guy left. Lee, you're out. Yeah. Anybody in that Hearts side? What about that Rangers side you played in?
I'm trying to think. Rangers, big boy there.
Oh, you can't
Kenny Miller. Boyd probably just for goal scorers, five-a-side.
See, you can't leave Boyd out.
But he won't pass to anybody, that's a problem. Yeah. Fives with him, he's just shooting.
If it's any consolation, he's still playing fives
on
and
a
still
Friday,
scoring. Yeah, absolutely. Usually a 1 hour show, but the time he took to name his fives, that's 2.5 hours now on the show. Hope you've enjoyed this longer version of the show. We got there in the end. Listen, give us your thoughts on who's going to win Celtic against Rangers. You put it in the comments section below. Right across social media, we've got lots of interviews, lots of classic players who've played in that special tie. And of course, if you are a fan of the others, I have to say to Kenny in LA, he's just as high as a kite being a Dundee Dons fan. Can they continue their unbeaten run? We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel and download the app as well for all the breaking news at your fingertips. Thanks to Tam, thanks to Alison, but brilliant to have David in here with us, and hopefully we'll get him back for more. From myself, Peter Martin, thank you for listening and watching.